Welcome to another episode of This Is My Offer, a video series that focuses on innovative partner products on AWS. I'm Madhu Pai, Partner Tech Lead for Manufacturing, and your host for today's episode. I have the pleasure of speaking with Leo Kilfoy, VP of Product for Software Defined Automation, and Joseph Waltl, founder of Software Defined Automation. Leo, Joseph, welcome. Please introduce yourself to our viewers and tell us about software defined automation.
Thank you, Madhu. I'm happy to be here. I've worked over 30 years in software and manufacturing industries, and I've spent the last 8 years working on cloud applications for manufacturing. I recently joined Software Automation in January. Software-defined automation was founded in 2021 with global headquarters in Boston, with significant engineering and development in Germany and Brazil. We're a venture-backed organization with experienced leadership in manufacturing and cloud. Our customers represent automotive, consumer goods, and pharmaceuticals, among others.
Good. Hello, my name is Joseph. I'm, as Madhu said, the founder of Software Defined Automation. I have a background in industrial software in a large industrial global corporation on the CAD and on the PLC side, so both sides of industrial software. Actually, I have a AWS background where I was leading the industrial software partner vertical for a couple of years. And let me tell you a bit on why software-defined automation was founded. Like when we look at the innovation that has in Germany been called Industry 4.0, Industrial Internet in the US, most of what we've seen in the last 10 years has really been about data coming from the shop floor, getting into the cloud and deriving inferences basically and findings. What has partly been ignored, I would say almost completely ignored, is the way how we manage the industrial computers on the shop floor. They're called programmable logic controllers, PLCs, or motion controllers for robots and milling and grinding machines. And this is what we do. We basically complete the picture from the computers in the shop floor up to the cloud in a very simple way, which is doing what AWS did to the computers in the data center. We now do this for all types of industrial controllers in the shop floor.
Interesting. Joseph, let's start with you again. You said you founded the company because of an intrinsic market need for industrial DevOps. Now, the DevOps part is very interesting. Can you describe what actually you saw in the market? What were the market needs? And what prompted you to actually come up with the solution?
So let's first of all look at where we are right now, still at this day. Like we can get data into analytics applications, more and more use of AI. And this is basically has lead times of sub 1 second, very often milliseconds. Changing something in a production system is like weeks, sometimes a month, because you need a person, the person needs to have a computer, the computer needs to have different Windows applications, even if it's the same PLC vendor. People sometimes need to travel around the world. And that's where we're really founded on. And then once you have what I would call an abstraction layer, like everything like in AWS gets a website of your that you can control your global manufacturing network through, you can build applications on top of it. So the very base and what we've actually learned throughout the last 3 years is transparency. This is where backup comes into play. This is where version control comes into play. Like there is this saying, never change a running system. And very often we hear it in manufacturing. That's actually a problem because if you don't change something, you're not going to get better. I know still from my times in AWS, this is one of the most complicated and complete software stacks in the world. And still it's updated in production several times an hour, maybe even now in minutes. So it is possible. Compared to that, some factories are simple, though we don't dare to update them. This is what we are set up, like bring continuous improvement to the manufacturing world. And then once you have that transparency, you can move forward. You can move into the security realm. Like, why do people still use this as a means to store their passwords on the laptop? Everywhere else, you have a vault. you have users, you have access rights. Those are connected. You can change the password, but the users still get or keep their rights. And then very interesting, what we also do is we abstract not only the access and the management, we also abstract the dialects. So for the users that are not so proficient with industrial controller technology, yes, there is kind of standardized languages, but it's not like a Python script that will run anywhere. It's like a specific dialect, and it's stored in a binary file. And therefore, you kind of do not have real access to that knowledge. And what we do is we make it unbinary. We can view everything in the browser. And then you can do applications on top of it that lean very much to what the current LLM technology provides. And B is very practical. Like, do a backup of machines in a shop floor, and then do an auto explanation of that. You can spin this much further. But just this one simple feature for one part of a program sometimes saves up to 3 hours of an engineer. Engineers we don't have, because it's a real scarcity of industrial automation talent, especially with the increase of manufacturing demand we currently see in the US.
Got it. And also there are ransomware attacks nowadays. I mean, it has always been there, but it's interesting how software-defined automation plays a role even in that perspective, right? So do you have anything to share from that standpoint?
Absolutely. And here we come into, can I upload my PLC controller programs into the cloud? But if you look, for example, at the latest study from Sophos, if there's a ransomware attack, in more than 50% of the cases, the backup that's local is also encrypted. What we have is we have a cloud central system, and that cloud central system is secured with the best practices from AWS and also certified through external auditors. So you don't have the same attack surface. And then when it comes to disaster recovery, even if you have a backup, the current cases send 50 people on planes around the world and reflash PLCs. We can do this in minutes because we have a centralized cloud system that can scale horizontally different types of jobs. Massive improvement in the security posture of large-scale manufacturers.
So now that we have got a really good background on software-defined automation, let's drill down into your solution. So could you provide some details on what exactly is the industrial DevOps solution that software-defined automation has? I know this is a relatively new space, so you can take your time to explain all the nuances involved.
Yeah, let me take that. SDA's primary mission is to manage factories-like software systems, starting with a comprehensive industrial DevOps solution. This slide here gives a high-level overview of what we mean by of our industrial DevOps solution. We provide a fully cloud-based solution built on AWS with a single place to access all your assets, regardless of where they're located, via your web browser. As Josef indicated, it's a fully scalable architecture, fully horizontally scalable. To start with kind of this figure, I want to start with version control on the left there. Version control, I like to refer to as the 4 Ws. When we're talking about like a PLC program, we like to understand the 4 Ws is what's changed, who changed it, when it was changed, and why it was changed. We provide the ability, when we're talking about a PLC program, to be able to not only just store that program, but to be able to view and compare those programs. And that's not only just the text, but that's also all the IEC PLC languages, such as structured text or ladder logic or function block diagrams, etc. Right from your browser, independently from the PLC vendor. So you can just open this up in a browser and be able to do those comparisons. This versus the traditional approach, which is having to maintain multiple, a laptop loaded with tens of VMs, for each of the different versions of the program, and the host with each of the different vendors. We host all of that in the cloud. It is immediately on demand available for you. Additionally, we can take, when you make a change, we have the ability to take that change, and which I'll get into a little bit more as I talk a little bit here, to take that change and deploy it directly to your PLC. So we can go from our repository directly to the PLC, which we'll talk about here in a moment. The next thing, as we move around up to the top there, is our browser-based engineering, which we also kind of refer to as IDE, Integrated Development Environment, as a service, which provides the ability to open up these PLC programs, again, right from your web browser. This is a fully cloud-based solution, using vendor IDEs such as Siemens TIA Portal or Rockwell Studio 5000. Additionally, you can connect to the from your browser, just like if you were standing next to the machine plugged in with an RJ45 connection. You can connect from your browser to that PLC, make that connectivity, and be able to debug and monitor, see what the tag values are, be able to upload and download those PLC programs. So it's a full client, just like you're standing there at the PLC program. As we move to the right, we have what we call our secure remote access solution, SRA. And this is via our SDA gateway. The SDA gateway is the only piece of software that gets installed on premise, and that is the piece that makes our connectivity from our SDA solution to the PLC. This enables a secure connectivity from the cloud to the factory floor via a VPN solution. It's been very well vetted. This feature allows us to deploy, to connect to the PLC, to troubleshoot, and to back up. So this provides kind of full direction connectivity. It extends our solution to provide. We've extended this solution also to provide a full service secure remote access solution to allow you to connect to the laptop, from anywhere, to do remote diagnostics or troubleshooting your machines to remotely connect and troubleshoot your machines if something goes wrong. As I move around to the right, you'll see what we refer to as Virtual PLC Management and Orchestration. And more PLC vendors are providing runtimes that can run on standard IT hardware, solving the problem of proprietary hardware, but generating a new kind of a new problem. Automation engineers are not IT experts. They need tools to manage the virtual PLCs, just like they manage existing PLCs. SDA treats virtual PLCs the same as traditional PLCs, with the addition of managing the supporting virtual machines, the VMs that these virtual machines, that the virtual PLCs sit on. Also, just like the PLC runtime software for an x86 server does not guarantee that to be deterministic. We have done very extensive testing that guarantees sub 5 millisecond cycle times for the common virtual PLC runtime and full field bus compatibility. As I move kind of further to the right, this is a really kind of key point for a lot of our customers is backup. Josef mentioned backup being a really critical item, particularly around ransomware. And the idea of being able to separate the backup from on-premise to cloud. Now that we have established that full connectivity of our gateway from from SDA to your PLC, we can perform a backup of 1 to 1,000 devices in one location or spread across multiple facilities in different countries, all from your web browser. We can define a time to do your backup for the rest of your, and be assured that all the backups are done. Say, I want to do all the backups at 8 p.m. at night. We will handle that for you automatically. You can also do the backups manually. Say, I want to execute a backup now. So we provide that capability. Finally, the last thing I want to talk about on the lower right is our factory agent. Factory agent is our first AI offering. We have more to come. It is AI-generated code documentation, providing human-readable documentation generated directly from the PLC program itself. It's a little bit of reverse of what everybody's doing with kind of the co-pilot ideas of being able to take and go from a description to code. We're going from code to description. We look at the entire program, not just a structured text, but we're also looking at ladder logic, function block diagrams for Siemens, Rockwell, Codesys, etc. We have this out with our inaugural customers since April and have consistently scored 5 out of 5 for completeness and correctness in our feedback surveys that we do. Every time we do one of these, we're asking for input back from our automation engineers. We're really excited about this, and our goal really is to provide a comprehensive industrial DevOps solution to simplify, secure, and improve the lives and economic value of our customers and of our customers' customers.
It is indeed a very comprehensive industrial DevOps solution, I must say. You mentioned multi-vendor earlier. Could you elaborate on what devices and vendors you support? I assume there are multiple in this realm.
Yeah, we support a variety of PLC, robotics, HMI, device vendors, and are always working on with our customers to expand our support for vendors, the vendor list based on our customers' needs. This includes both new supported vendors. Here's a list, and we're about ready to come out. We're adding, as an example, Mitsubishi will be added to this list next week, as well as extending support for new versions. Eventually, we'll support all types of control devices commonly found in global production systems.
Yeah, this actually greatly helps me understand the entire solution. I can see that the solution provides a foundation for customers to easily manage the software, the very software that runs their plant, their factory, or the warehouse. Can you elaborate more on the value now? So why would a customer adopt a solution like SDA? And what are some of the use cases or the needs that a customer would begin to engage SDA for? What differentiates SDA from others in the market?
Then let me take this again and let me really tie it back to the value we bring for the users. So before we go on the different elements in this slide, what we really support is what I would call the forgotten automation engineers. Automation engineers are absolute experts. They know mechatronics, electrics, they know electronics and computer science. And what do they have right now? They have tools from the 90s, very complicated Windows applications. They need to be away from their families. They need to take like brick-like laptops. And that's like stuff that we hear on a daily basis. Do we believe this is the way how we can attract the best and brightest of our society to build their manufacturing systems of the future? That's the core of our mission as a company. Therefore, we also do things like we are not limited on users. In our commercial model, we want people to more collaborate and just have a better experience. You might laugh at that, but automation engineers can work on a Mac in our system, no problem, unseen in that industry, but important for many people if they choose where they want to work. But let's go more into the key benefits. As I said, the first one is automate backup and simple recovery. That's like table stakes. But if you look at what automation engineers do, up to 40% of their time is running around and making manual backups, or having no understanding that a machine has been updated by the machine builder, and that what you believe is installed and what runs there as a software code is actually not the latest thing. We talked about simple recovery. Here also, what Leo alluded to, and I think it's also important from a technical perspective, we are completely built on AWS. We use serverless technology. We can scale infinitely and horizontally, like hundreds or thousands of PLCs redeployed after a disaster in a couple of minutes. That's possible. And that's not a pure feature comparison. That's how you build your system. We build a system that can hold the status reliably for hundreds of millions of industrial controllers at the same time. Multi-vendor version management, we already talked about that. Very simple. If you look into our platform and say, okay, I have a Siemens file, I click into what it is, and I want to have a comparable Rockwell file, I click to it, and I see it on the browser. Just to be clear, that's several thousand euros of license cost that you would have normally. And if you have that, you don't do it. And sometimes people do not even have the authority to do that. That leads to the point where some customers have parallel development teams for every PC vendor. What a waste of precious resources that we anyhow have less and less. Remote secure access is pretty clear. It's like not being required to be on site. Machine builders, system integrators can make much better use of their resources because they can just serve more customers at the same time rather than spending time on airports and planes. And the other thing is secure. What we do is we are cloud-centered. That means the IDE also runs in the cloud in a very safe environment. And the IDEs never seen the internet. Much different than PCs of automation engineers that are connected to all types of internet hotspots when they travel. And we ultimately, through the use of AWS's nice DCV technology, we transfer pictures. That's much more secure in giving access to the internet. We have a bunch of customers that just, with our technology, allowing other people to remote connect and have not done so before with standard VPN solutions. The next one is the editing part. Here I'll like to just add what Leo said. These applications sometimes take minutes to start. We have a customer where they say an automation engineer on a daily basis saves 25 to 30 minutes. That basically means coffee consumption goes down for the shift. This is 20 to 30 minutes that are really precious. And this is where people can focus on other topics. We are just at the beginning of this AI journey. As an ISV, I have to say that the approach that we see from AWS with Bedrock, where we can switch between different models and always be on par with innovation, really comes in handy. We do a ton of it on top. We basically teach those models to be really, really good automation engineers. And as you can imagine, this will not stop with explanation. We just found that it is much more complicated to explain sometimes not so good code or not so good document code than generate perfect new one. And the amount of saving is immense. Like a very complicated piece of structured text or a lot of like 10, 15 rungs in ladder logic, this can take up to a couple of hours. It takes like 30 seconds to get a very good description there. Yeah? And ultimately, what we said is, again, independence from vendor-specific hardware through virtualization. We follow the trend in the industry that more and more vendors provide specific hardware-independent runtime stacks. That's currently dialed a bit down because we have an abundance of hardware. But let's just think back when we had the global pandemic and no hardware was there. And I did the check once. At some point in time, the delivery time of a very common Rockwell controller was 127 working days. If you're a machine builder and you only get paid if a machine is out and running, then that's 127 working days you don't make money. So that's something where we're really prepared. We here focus on like giving power to the automation engineers, because what sometimes is overlooked, if you put it on standard IT hardware, IT has possession of it. Yeah. But in a current setting, you can just take another controller and replace it. This cannot be that the automation engineers get less power because they need to file an IT ticket for a new virtual instance of an industrial controller. They need to have it in the same tool, and it needs to be exactly managed as they manage the existing PLCs. That's what we bring into the whole game of virtual PLCs. Hope that was a bit of an overview, and it is really tied to what we see on a daily basis with the users. One of our first and now very lead customers is Henkel. They came in with, I would say, moderate management of their whole PLC tool chain in their core plant for detergents in Germany. And backup versioning was really not there. We jointly worked up with them to a way where they now have a complete abstraction of their shop floor. And what I mean with complete is hundreds of PLCs. They have at any point in time access. They not only have their own engineers there, they also have external engineers there. So system integrators, machine builders, like dial in. They can at any point in time exactly control, can collaborate, and they save a lot of travel money. And they also are much more efficient with their licenses, meaning you have a global repository of licenses. You do not need this, what Leo already mentioned, laptops with 50 licenses. And if that laptop is in the cabinet because one of the automation engineers is on vacation and happened to have it in the cabinet, then it's not there. So you really get leaner in terms of the overload that you would need to have. They are much better in changing things because they can go back. Like you only change if you can go back. The entry barrier to change is lower. The more you change, the better you go. There is like the saying in AWS: there's no compression algorithm to experience. Experience is experiments that work or did not work. You need to have a safety net for experiments. We are the safety net for the industrial control engineer for experiments to improve operations. And right now, we are really in the process of expanding our reach in the global manufacturing network. We work in UAE, we work in Europe, we work in first sites in the US, and learn new challenges, get exposed to new details of certain technology stacks, and kind of move forward as we do with many other customers of the size and scale of Henkel.
Great. What does your business model look like, and how is this product sold in the market today? And maybe I'll add to that. So let's say I'm interested in SDA. How can I get started?
Madhu, let me take that and answer both of those questions. I'm going to talk about the business model and how to get started with us. So let's talk a little bit about the business model. Our business model is a SaaS subscription and consumption based model. The subscription model is built in subscription plans. We have multiple subscription plans, and it's devices under management. So it's very simple. So it's a per device model. We also have so for certain things like browser-based engineering, secure remote access, we charge by usage. But each plan includes a certain amount of usage with the plan. We offer volume discounts based on the number of devices you have. So the more devices you have under the subscription plan, the bigger the discount. Please contact us for more information. We could cover the details with you. And you also asked how to get started with us. We'd like to start off with a conversation of how to get started with us and to understand a little bit more about what you're hoping to achieve. Most engagements start with a demo. We also have online a fully functional 14-day free trial with our software-defined automation solution that you can simply by going to www.softwaredefinedautomation.io, you can go there and click and start a free trial immediately. The trial is supported by a full series of SDA Academy training videos This is a whole series of content that we provide to help users get up to speed. And in this series of trainings, they introduce new features and walk a new user all the way from the beginning introduction features all the way to hooking up your own PLC and gateway, installing a gateway and hooking up your first PLC. Those trials typically move quickly into a small implementation project focused on a line, a warehouse, or a factory to prove the value, usually a small number of PLCs, and then eventually grow into something larger. They expand into a full deployment, which usually expands the number of use cases and the types of things that you're wanting to do. From a full deployment standpoint, customers can start using SDA immediately. Pretty much the trial typically represents from your first PLC, really represents something that you can be using right after the trial. It's something that is usually useful when you hook up your first PLC, you begin doing backups with that. Large-scale global production deployments across multiple factories can take 2 to 3 months to multiple quarters, depending on the level of complexity, connectivity, the number of users, and the number of vendors, versions, and to be implemented. So it's really depends on the complexity of your organization, but we are here to help and would love to engage you. So with that, I think that's pretty much how to get engaged with us. Again, it's www.softwaredefinedautomation.io. You can go there to schedule a demo, to connect with us, or to start a 14-day free trial. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Leo Joseph, for taking us through how customers are realizing the really unique benefits of software-defined automation. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you in another episode of This Is My Offer.